This podcast is part of the C-Suite Radio Network, turning the volume up on business.
Welcome to the Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer. Join us as Deb talks with her guests, experts in their fields, as they share real-life stories and techniques to power up your business.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And today, oh my gosh, it's a red letter day, so much fun. I love my guest. We're going to have so much fun talking with my guest. It is also the first program officially of video that we are doing for the Business Power Hour. So, fingers, toes, eyes crossed that everything goes well, and which I know it will. We're just going to have very positive thoughts. And I love the fact that we're doing this video because it's so much fun to be able to see my guests because, they're just such fun people and it's really great to be able to see them. So please join me in welcoming my guest today, Tricia Benn, to our program. Welcome, Tricia.
Thank you so much, Deb. It's really great to be here with you and all of you listening.
Yes, and part of why it's so fun to be talking to you is you are part of the beloved C-Suite Network, which we are a part of. Very proud to be part of that organization. But you're actually part of an even more specific part of C-Suite Network, and that's really what we're here to talk about today. So let me tell people a little bit about you, and then we will just jump into this because I'm sure we're just going to fill the hour up.
I'm sure. It could be a couple of hours. Down.
I know. We'll just keep going. We'll keep going. To heck with dinner, to heck with So Tricia Benn is an executive at the C-Suite Network and the general manager of the Hero Club, a group of CEOs, founders, and investors who commit to a life balance of hard work while giving back to the communities in which they serve. Tricia's goal is to transform businesses by creating a movement of collaboration that leads with integrity, transparency, and measures success beyond the numbers alone. So again, Tricia, welcome.
Thank you so much, Deb.
Well, let's step back just a little bit because this is so fun and we're going to have a great time talking about it. But how did you get to where you are today and how did you discover that this is your passion?
Oh my goodness, what a great question. So my passion. I have to say that is such a driving force in everything that I do within the C-Suite Network and the Hero Club. My path was that I actually spent 20 years in the market research industry and always with enterprise-sized organizations. I built businesses, I fixed businesses. I was the youngest, North American VP within the first enterprise-sized organization I worked with. I got my 10,000 hours in the shortest time you could, I think. Just learned as much as I possibly could, and then ended up going into other areas. Always a disruptor, and certainly could talk for an hour about all the different kind of components of life. Right, you get these of different aspects of your life, but at the end of the day, the role that I had before I came here, which was really the critical one, is I was a chief marketing and strategy officer. I'd met our founder and our chairman and CEO, Jeffrey Hazlett, at a conference the year before. And he had talked about launching this C-Suite Network thing. And for me, I was a global marketing and strategy officer with a CEO who wanted to get in front of U.S., American executives. And so I reached out to Jeffrey and I said, we're talking about this C-Suite thing. Did you do something with that?
Well, what is that?
What is it? And it really made a lot of sense to me for a lot of really specific strategic reasons and my background. And so I got a letter back and I got put in touch with the salesperson that he had leading on sponsorships at that point. And I ended up becoming one of the very first sponsors of C-Suite Network. So that's how I came into the network, and I'm so grateful I did. That was nearly 5 years ago now. I came on team about 3 years ago. I work, with C-Suite Network and as part of the leadership team, and then the Hero Club. I'm the general manager, as you said, and it's just it's the mission that we're on drives that passion for really changing people's lives and coming from a position of abundance. That means that you can make a difference in business and its maximum best benefit to, not only, the teams within a company, but the wider community, the economy, and our democracy. And that's no small mission to join on to.
And obviously I love C-Suite Network, and, disclaimer, yes, we are part of C-Suite Network, but, what I like about it is it has resources and great information for anyone who is kind of that senior executive, that C-level person, whatever it is, whether it's somebody who has 10,000 employees or their cat who just wanders through, like my cat does. Because we're all C-level, we're CEOs of our business, again, whether it's a small business or whether it's a giant, large business, we have a lot of the same problems, just, different scales of them. And, a big part of what I like about it is it helps bring people together to, because so many times we feel very isolated, and whether it's because we're in a home office or we're in the ivory tower of, of the CEO of, being in a big organization. And so this group really helps kind of bring together peers and helps them network together, share best practices, talk about issues, things like that they have. And that's really what I like about it.
Yeah, the C-Suite Network, it is this larger platform. And that's what I loved about the idea of the C-Suite Network is essentially you can come into the C-Suite Network as an executive. So the wider audience of the C-Suite Network is VP or above of around a $2.5 million business or more.
Right.
And then we have, the advisors too. And we have our radio hosts and we have our TV hosts and our different partners. Yes. Hey, Deb. And so we've got this entire ecosystem that when you think about it, and this is what excited me so much about it, is for those of us that are 40 or over, our career was absolutely made if we sat on the board of directors of our trade association and we knew the publisher of our industry.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is, within the last 15 to 20 years, there was a massive disruption, obviously, with technology and the fragmentation of all of the audiences from a consumer's perspective, and maybe slower and more painfully with the B2B audiences.
Right.
And so what happened was those business models no longer worked. Right? Some a little faster or slower than others, but that business model doesn't work in today's day and age. So there had to be massive adjustments, right? Or failure.
Right.
Or slow failure, but
one of those slow, painful death type of things.
A lot of slow pain, yes. And, my background, I spent a decade in a media business that owned consumer and trade media brands, the biggest in the country. And so, it was faster and easier to see on the consumer side. Right. A little, as I said, slower and more painful on the B2B side. And then I also sat on a national board for an association and was the treasurer for several years as well. And so, those business models don't work, but the need of executives is exactly the same. And to your point, you need community. You need to know who are the experts. Now, it's not just the expert in your own industry anymore. It's the experts across so many sectors and areas of expertise that an executive has to know about in terms of trends and issues. And then who to go to when they need help in those areas, or a second opinion or an outside perspective, somebody that they can trust and so on. And then what events do you go to? Well, you can't do those in your own trade now or your own, specific sector or industry. You've got to be way better rounded as an executive today than you did, even 15, 20 years ago. So it's really that opportunity to bring all of the best of the best together. Right. And the Hero Club specifically is just for CEOs, founders, and investors. And it is a very, very different kind of grouping where in that group, we don't have a minimum of revenue. We have offered membership for the Hero Club to people that are pre-revenue and funded because we believe in them.
Right. They've got a great idea, a great passion, whatever it is.
Yep. We believe in them in terms of their passion, their character, and the opportunity and the success that they're likely to see with the business they're building.
Well, what really is the basis of the Hero Club? Because it now, I have, I was showing you this before. We have the Hero Factor that Jeffrey wrote. Oh, yeah, there's yours. Yes, and we're not just, it's not just that we like Jeffrey that we have these. It's great information, but what is the concept behind the Hero Club?
So there are a couple things, and one. I want to just be really clear. You're right. You don't have these books just to have them there or to be supportive of Jeffrey. It really is. The mantra of how do you go from good to great to Hero Factor, and what does that mean? And so this is the mandate, and also the support of the fact that when you do great things for your people. And that's, again, your employee, clients, suppliers, partners, and then the community, and so on. Right. Great things happen. And so this whole notion that we've been raised on where, there's this concept of, grow up, this is business. In fact, those businesses that operate that way, and the worst of the worst, an example like Theranos, the blood, the blood testing.
Right. We're just here to make money.
Just here to make money, and they lied and really you couldn't get a more worse type of scenario, taking advantage of people, and even people died. I mean, it was
and so the employees could not have been enjoying working there, and it really was just a horrific business model.
Yes, and so but what we believe at the end of the day is that the majority of business leaders, so CEOs and founders, are genuinely trying to do the absolute best they can for everybody. Right. And what the Hero Factor is about, it's about what a Hero Factor business is, defining it, and then creating the information and connection and understanding needed to get there. Right. And so really operational excellence and that alignment on people and mission and impact. Right. You have to have both to have a Hero Factor business. Right. And that is where Good to Great goes to Hero Factor. And that's where we see just time and again, if you look at all the big business colleges, all the research that's been done across the board, when you have that kind of alignment, you have way more profitability. Have adaptability, sustainability through crises. I mean, that is where real business success comes from. So our members in the Hero Club, we all take that as just part of our fundamental belief system, and we act accordingly.
Right. And companies have to make money. I mean, hello, even if you are a nonprofit, you still have to make money. You can't exist without money. But it is about kind of that, and it's more than just your mission and your vision, because in a lot of ways, those are just words that somebody came up with, and they would, oh, isn't that pretty? That's a good marketing tool. It's about how they really live them, and what that means to people, and it's one of the things that you talk about a lot with the Hero Factor is that the leader is a good steward for his company or her company, and so tell us a little bit more about what that means, because I love that concept, and I've talked with other people about it, and I really like that, because many people, it's a very foreign type of thing, because they're thinking, well, wait a minute, I'm supposed to lead, I'm supposed to be tough, I'm supposed to be doing all of these things, and actually in many cases that's the farthest thing from the truth.
Yeah. Well, I can't help thinking through, as a CEO and founder, it is a very lonely place to be. It
Right.
truly is. I'll tell you a story, Deb, that I love this member for sharing this with me, but he came to his very first Hero Club member meeting, and he said, Tricia, this has been incredible. Because I was, this is your first meeting. What do you think? How's it going? And he said, to be in a room with that many quality, like-minded CEOs and founders, he said, it's almost overwhelming. And I said, okay, like in a good way, right?
Right. We didn't scare you off, did we?
So anyway, he said, I can't even tell you how valuable this is to me. He said, when I left my executive role, and I realized for the very first time when I started my business, I might not make payroll. If things didn't land just right, I may not make payroll. He said, I'm pretty sure I had one big problem. And I said, okay, that makes sense, And he said, but then I made the mistake of telling my spouse. And then I knew I had two.
Yeah. What do you mean?
It is a lonely place to be. And so, with the Hero Club and the Hero Factor, one of the things I love, obviously, is that community of support. And we have 4 pillars, and I can talk about how we work to really support each of our members' growth. But I think just from a big picture perspective on Hero Factor, the idea that as a business leader, you do not apologize for success.
Right.
You grow as fast and go at it as hard as you can, because you cannot have impact if you don't have that success. So it's operational success that makes it so that you go from, and in the Hero Factor, I could pull open the grid, but it takes you from being a martyr of giving more than you have and having very limited resources to give anything to really being a Hero Factor business where you're having an incredibly positive impact.
Right. And you mentioned the fact that members of the Hero Club, and it is a club, we want to be, and there is an application process that people do go through. And, so anyone who is interested, we will provide that information. But it is very specific. It's CEOs and it's founders. I mentioned that the C-Suite Network is for CEOs, CFOs, senior executive type of people. You mentioned VP and above, but the Hero Club truly is just for that very top pinnacle. And I'm guessing part of that is because exactly what you said. They have trouble sharing. Even at the C level, the CEO can't always be telling the CEO or the CFO, the CMO, the COO, the alphabet soup. They need to be talking directly to a peer, and the peer is another CEO, another that level of person.
Yes, it's there is one. So we have CEOs, founders, and you're right. It is a totally unique experience. As you say, you can't even necessarily talk to the CFO or the CMO or whoever. The fact of the matter is that might be a spouse, that might be a family member, and if they aren't already, they're a close enough friend that they've become part of the family. And that means that everyone's reliant on you. So even if you're processing and you're just thinking out loud, that has massive impact that now you have to deal with, in addition to trying to process information and get perspective and so on. So that is a huge part of surrounding yourself with like-minded leaders, because they know your value system. So that pledge is critical. It was the very first thing that Jeffrey did after acquiring the Hero Club, was penning down the pledge. And it's not some secret society. We are not elitist. We are not exclusive. What we are is a movement and a membership of people who have pledged to lead with integrity and transparency and give back to their communities and share in their success. So you can let that arm, take the armor off, have those real conversations. Now we do have one other group in the membership, and that's investors. And I want to tell you, our investor members are extraordinary. They care about social impact. And again, they understand that the companies that care about that are going to be more successful. It is aligned with their values, and it pays. It's smart.
Right.
It's just the right thing to do.
It's a good investment.
Yes, and the fact of the matter is, it has to be authentic, or you wouldn't fit in with the membership that's
Right.
given.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's been phenomenal. And
Mhm.
if there's anyone here who is in this position and thinks, I want to be part of that, I want to give, and I need to have that, around me as
Mhm.
well. It's heroceoclub.com, where you'll see, all of our information online.
Right.
At least enough to get you
Mhm.
acquainted
Mhm.
anyway.
Mhm. And if for some reason you aren't able to actually join, there are still other great resources. And as we mentioned, just following the pledge, and we'll talk about several parts of that, and the basic tenets of the Hero Club. You can do that on your own with your own business, your own nonprofit, your own volunteer group, whatever the heck it is. You don't have to be a member of the Hero Club to do it. Of course, it's nice because then you have, as we've been saying, the support of others. But a lot of the basic tenets are the same, the giving back, the putting your employees first, which is really pretty hard to do because, you think about, but we have to make money. Really, we have to make money. But, as you've said, if the other pieces aren't there, sure, you can make lots of money, but you have to have everything together in order to truly be successful.
Yes, and at the end of the day, I think putting that stake in the ground and saying this matters,
Mm-hmm.
There's something just so critically important about that.
Mm-hmm.
And we all need to be some part of something that matters.
Right.
And so I hashtag everything that I create now with "it matters,"
Mm-hmm.
because it does. And the idea that it doesn't, or somehow business is soulless, is ridiculous.
Right.
So yeah, it's incredibly soul filling
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to know that you're armed around other business leaders who aren't afraid to put that stake in the ground,
Mm-hmm.
and work with each other, support each other, in an environment where we're making sure that everybody's
Mm-hmm.
supported.
Mm-hmm.
We have to do a lot of things in our membership related to connecting our members to the right people when they need them, where they need
Right.
them,
Mm-hmm.
education and tools, and peer-to-peer workshopping, which is absolutely incredibly powerful. We just got back from Vegas. One of the biggest comments we had through the workshopping is, oh my goodness, with the diversity of Hero Club membership, basically I've had an incredible board meeting here,
Mm-hmm.
just at
Right.
my table.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third is all about capital. How do you get money? How do you
Mm-hmm.
use it effectively to grow? How do you get to that successful exit and make sure you're prepping for that appropriately? And round again, because as entrepreneurs, we never stop. We might do
Right.
more.
Mm-hmm.
We're certainly not going to do less.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fourth is really life balance, and
Mm-hmm.
how we help to support our members, ensuring that they do things like take care of themselves,
Right.
their health, their financial
Mm-hmm.
well-being, their family, their relationships,
Mm-hmm.
and also creating an environment where we can play together, and they don't have to be the champion of everything.
Right.
To just sit back and enjoy,
Mm-hmm.
or try something new that they don't
Mm-hmm.
have to be great at. And that sounds kind of silly, but it is so important.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
to have that time to just come down a little and know that you're in a safe space.
Mm-hmm. Right. And uh, all we have to do is look at statistics for the health problems that CEOs and senior level people have. And a big part of that is because they're working so hard because of stress. Hello, they're responsible for however many hundreds, thousands, millions of people. The products, might be something that truly is something that saves people's lives, or maybe it's just a product that's really fun that people enjoy. But there is a lot of stress with all of that, and it was funny because I as you were talking about doing the fun things, I was thinking, well, in businesses, they have the team building type of things, and I shouldn't do that voice when I do that because they're very important. Whether it's that you're building Habitat for Humanity or all of these, and I've done some of those with some of the corporations that I've belonged to, and it does it helps, but at that C level, person, they can't really participate in that. It's kind of like they can't let their hair down
Mhm.
because they might not win is maybe what it is, and they might show that they have, some issues, because a lot of the team building things are trust, and all of those where you fall off the ladder backwards, which I refuse to do. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I know those people. I like those people. And I figure they'll probably catch me, but no, not going to do that. And plus as a CEO, you're thinking, I bet they'll drop me. I really bet they'll drop me. So to be able to kind of kick back and have fun with people who are that same level is absolutely critical.
Yeah, and also you don't have to start a conversation by explaining why you were crazy enough to go out and lead a business or
Right.
start a business.
Yeah,
Or
because they're crazy too. They always know. They know that.
time. You don't have to explain these things. You might not make payroll. I had I had another member who was concerned about that in her first Hero Club member meeting, and I could see that she was stressed. And I said, what's going on? And she said, like, I'm really going through financial issues right
Right.
now. And I
And
said, "Oh,
probably she's also thinking, I'm here when I should be dealing with all of that.
right, right." And I said, okay, so is there anything else?
Hmm.
She said, no. Like
What do you
this,
mean?
this is a very large issue. And I said, okay, well then what I want you to do is I want you to get over yourself, and I
Hmm.
want you to go back in that room, and
Right.
I want you to talk to all of the people
Hmm.
in this room, because there's not a single one of us that hasn't experienced that
Right.
one way or another.
Hmm.
And you need to figure out what they've done to solve those kinds of
Right.
problems. And
Right.
and sometimes it's the simplest thing.
Hmm.
We had one member talk about how, they lost their largest client, and financially it was crippling, just
Hmm.
absolutely crippling. It meant they couldn't make their rent, and
Oh
they had
no.
a pretty sizable business.
Hmm.
And so massive crisis. And he
Hmm.
said, I really thought this is it. Like, I don't know how I'll move forward.
Hmm.
And then he thought, wait a second. The owner of the building happens to be the bank that owns my.
And they're not going to want things to go downhill.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So he just renegotiated a payment schedule based
Right.
on past performance, and the
Hmm.
fact that, yes, they did lose one major client, but they would be able to come through.
Hmm.
And then it all, worked out in the wash,
Right.
and a decade previously.
Hmm.
So, there are solutions, and when you can surround yourself with great people, they cannot wait. And that's one thing I always say in the Hero Club. We have a lot of really key cultural things that
Hmm.
are all about Hero Club membership and how
Hmm.
we interact together. And, one of them is we're all heroes. We're just dying,
Right.
absolutely dying for the excuse to pull our
Hmm.
cape out, put it
I know.
on.
Do, 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 do.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's our DNA,
Right.
which probably lends itself to why we're building businesses to
Hmm.
start with, right? It's not for the faint of heart, and so
Right.
we're dying to.
And some of it's ego, but yeah, it's a mindset.
Yeah, you want to do good things. So when someone presents you with something where you can throw on the cape and say, guess what I did, and it
Hmm.
worked, so you should try it.
Right.
It's actually doing a favor or a
Hmm.
service to a hero,
Hmm.
because they want to be able to be helpful. They want
Right.
to make a positive difference,
Hmm.
and they want to help other great leaders have that maximum impact. And
Hmm.
we haven't talked about the original Hero Club member, the founder of the Hero Club, and
Right.
that's a really phenomenal story as
Hmm.
well.
Well, let's talk about that.
Really? Okay. Uh,
We
I mean,
love Jeffrey, but yeah, let's talk about that. Hmm.
well, so I always say Jeffrey's our first Hero Club
Hmm.
member, but our original Hero Club member was Rob Ryan.
Ah.
And Rob Ryan founded the Hero Club
Hmm.
after an incredibly successful exit. So
Hmm.
he built Ascend Communications from the
Hmm.
ground up, sold it for over $20 billion at the beginning of 1999.
Hmm.
Now,
That's
you
a
can,
lot of money.
that's a lot of money now, let alone,
Hmm.
back in 99.
Hmm.
And so what happened was he and his wife, she was the chief legal counsel.
Hmm.
They, even though they had no obligation to do so, they profit shared with every single employee.
Wow.
So we believe, and we've never been corrected, that he created more millionaires in one day than has ever been done in any exchange like that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, I mean, just to add credence to it, that was the largest private tech sale ever.
Mm-hmm.
And that record held for 17 years until LinkedIn was acquired
Wow.
by Microsoft
Mm-hmm.
at the end of 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So, what happened was, and you can imagine this, every time an employee saw him, he'd get a tap on the shoulder,
Right.
and then, just incredible gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
So, you may not remember me. I was the janitor.
Uh-huh.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how you changed my life. You're my hero.
Mm-hmm.
And Rob was a huge believer that he wasn't a hero. His father was a veteran, and he believed
he was a hero. Mm-hmm.
he was a hero.
Mm-hmm.
But what he did think was, if he could find like-minded CEOs and founders and help them have, accelerate the growth of their business and get to that successful exit. And they were promised to do, that same thing he did. Now,
Right.
we don't say how our members have to give back. They all do it in all kinds of different ways. But that was the original mission, was you need to find members that do care about having that positive impact. Right. And then the second piece for Rob, and these are both, absolutely inspiring us every day and driving us forward. And certainly we can account for our tremendous growth. We've more than 10-folded the membership in less than 2 years. It's this notion that we're going to have this, accelerate the growth of our members in their businesses, the successful exit, and then create a movement where we help people to understand how critical this role is, not just to the employees, not just to the local community, because, who supports the local arts community and the Little League and, all those things, but our economy, and then more so our democracy. So it is no joke. There's actually a very serious underpinning to this. Without the diversification of wealth, you don't have the diversification of power.
Right.
And so, this was a huge part of his personal belief, was if people don't understand how critical, business leaders are in delivering on all of this, then they won't understand the importance of it, and the support won't be there for these leaders to emerge. And so it's absolutely a driving force in everything we do to this day.
And I love that story because, it's not that he made himself a pauper, by giving all of his money away, but he used it in such a good, beneficial way. And we hear about people like Bill Gates, who started, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. What I really love is when, we hear these people who are the multimillionaires who say, it's not going to my kids. My kids need to work for it also. Now, there is something to be said for, especially in family-owned businesses where, the children have come up in the business. I've, talked with several people like that on the program before, and, that's great. But a big part of it is, there shouldn't be that level of expectation where, I'm going to get that much, and again, it doesn't matter if it's, the business or whatever. My mother, I'm an only child, and my mother and I, have had this conversation where I have told her, I want you to get down to, you have enough to cover your funeral expenses. And then that's it. I'm a big person. I can take care of myself, and what she has, it should go to other people, and, all those various things. But, and again, it doesn't matter the size of your business. I mean, maybe you just go out and pick up trash on a weekend. It's that giving back to your community that grounds you in the community. And it is important that other people see that. They see, hey, they're out here, they're doing those things. And so that's important. And, on the times where there might be something negative that happens to your company, I mean, I'm a PR person at heart, and so we kind of, it's always a good idea to kind of have that good bank of public opinion. So if, by chance something goes wrong, you have people who are your biggest, defenders out there saying, well, wait a minute, no, that might have happened, but Look at everything else this company has done. Therefore, we're going to continue to support it and or the leadership. And so it's just good business practice to be giving back at whatever level you can, and to encourage your employees. When I worked for ING, the big financial company, it now has a different name, but part of my responsibility there was managing the philanthropic programs. Right. And yes, we had money that we wrote checks for, but it was, we also had very big programs where our employees gave back. And one of the biggest programs that our employees loved was they were tutors. Math tutors. I mean, this is an insurance company, and so a lot of them were actuaries and math-minded people, and so they were tutors in junior high. There was a junior high, within walking distance of the company, and so and people love that. I mean, but it was built in to the fact that there was a certain day that employee got that time off. Unless there was something really, really critical going on. You didn't say, no, you can't go today. No, they went and they did that. And that was just so important. And I remember talking with employees who stayed in touch with the kids that they worked with all the way through college, all these various things. And, and the CEO very rightly said, we are giving back to our community because they are potential employees, potential investors, potential people, potential clients and customers. And it's good business to do that.
Yeah, it's, I've been part of those programs and the teams that I've built. Some of the best bonding exercises we ever had were truly, giving, absolutely giving.
Right.
So we would do out of the cold cooking for people who were living on the street and needed that warm meal and shower and clothing and food supplies and so on, food banks and so on. And in the Hero Club, this is something that we're doing, where we go, we just,
you just did a big project in Vegas, right?
Yeah. And so we had, most of our members stayed and went to this warehouse that was 25 minutes away, and we packed over 3,000 lunches for children. So excited to do that, and it was a wonderful thing for us to be doing together. Everybody thoroughly enjoyed it, and then it's sort of like, okay, we've given to the community that we enjoyed, and creating an opportunity that means that we can give back. And our Hero Club members, Dawn and Jonathan Stone, they own Sababa Way. It's a water company, and they have other product lines they're coming out with, but this is something they support in various cities. And so to be able to go out and do that and support an initiative that they've been invested in, is tremendous. And so, everywhere we go, we want to have that positive impact together, but then each individual member is also doing exceptional things. And then I think one other thing that strikes me as being really critical is the authenticity of it.
Right.
So I think
not just because it's good business.
Right. And it's like, there was this sort of cynicism attached to it. Like, you do this and then the community will, see our advertising.
It's like only doing it because.
Smarter advertising.
Right. And you got your name in the paper for free.
Yeah. So the authenticity matters, and I think the millennial generation, the digital, the digitization of our lives, that matters.
Right. It does.
Yeah. And so that's something that I think is a really interesting quality that we're very focused on. And that is actually a huge part of our vetting process for Hero Club membership. The authenticity, that notion of coming from abundance rather than scarcity, wanting to make a difference, and being committed to that.
Well, and the Hero Club, as we mentioned, there is an application process, and you vet people. And I'm sure that there are people that you very kindly and gently say thank you, but no thank you, because for whatever reason, and so I love that they do, it like you said, it has to be authentic, because it's a pretty elite group of people that a lot of people would think, holy cow, I really want to be associated with these people. But that's very personal, and that is very much ego driven is probably the thing. And it's more, they want to be a part of it because of what they can give back, what they can learn, all those various things. So if it's kind of that ego, well, I just want to be a part of the in club.
Yeah.
No, not so much. But the funny thing is they're probably not going to apply because somehow this won't have even caught their attention.
It's really interesting. Even so not only will you stick out like an absolutely sore thumb, because my members are constantly vetting for me.
Right. They monitor themselves.
I joke, I only get to meet great people. Literally, they will not introduce me to anybody that's not great.
Right.
And so, every day is just this wonderful, delightful conversation that I'm having. And certainly my whole team. I mean, it's phenomenal. But that vetting process and how you interact in the membership, it's not just our members, it's our partners and sponsors as well. Right. So I have to say, I'm very happy to have you come on board as a sponsor, but I will tell you, if you don't act to the pledge and contribute as a member, so that's one of the benefits, as a partner or sponsor of Hero Club, we only have executives in the room, and you sit at the table like a member does. So it's a massive opportunity and a great way to fully integrate into the audience you want to be in front of. However, if you don't act according to the pledge, there is nothing I can do to help you.
Right. Right. and your money is best used elsewhere, in your time.
It would be, so we've had some great partnerships that it's just absolutely phenomenal. I'll never forget my very first one was I negotiated a partnership with Capital One, and so we have the credit card with Capital One, and I said to my partner at Capital One, you need to think about what the Hero Club pledge means to you, because you have to act as a member and according to the pledge. And he said, oh, okay, well, let me think about that. So he came back the next day, called me, and he said, Tricia, I got it. How many of your members need to meet executives in Capital One? And I said, well, yeah, you know what? Now we're talking. That sounds an amazing thing, because of course we have members where that would be incredibly beneficial to have an introduction to the right person to speak to inside a very, very large organization. And coming from an enterprise, size career background, I understand how critical that can be. Right. Of course, it's not person A in the same department, the same floor, in the same office. No, B. You talk to A, you're out. You talk to B, that's the one.
Right.
It's that critical. And anyway, so it's so much fun to think about how you make all of those connections, and have everybody contributing in such a meaningful way.
Well, you've mentioned the pledge several times now, and I want to talk about it more because, as we've said, not everybody can be an actual member of the Hero Club, but you can embrace the values of it. So I've got it here on my little computer monitor. And so, we'll just kind of go through it very quickly. So, we say the pledge, but, and I'm sure you really don't do that. But so it's communicate.
Does sign off on it in DocuSign. So
I know. Well, yeah, because when you sign it, I mean, you are saying, and because you read it. It is a contract, not just with Hero Club. It's a contract with yourself.
Yes.
And so you're saying that you're going to follow this, and so it starts with communicates a clear vision of where we want to go. I mean, how many companies are just, like I said, they've got the vision and the mission statement. That's the pretty little thing up on their wall, and they just muddle merrily along.
Or they don't even do that.
Right.
We do Hero Factor workshopping where we have things like this that are in the pledge, and working through what does it mean, and how do you align it to how you think about your people and your values, and what are they? And it was we just did one of these sessions at our meeting last week, And it was just awesome to see our new members processing that information and our older members thinking through what they have and where they are and whether they needed adjustments and getting reaction of other leaders that have a completely different background and a different interpretation of what those things might mean. And so just fascinating to see that, which is again another strength of the Hero Club is our diversity. And that's something that the pledge absolutely lends itself to. But I know you have a few more you want to go through.
Well, but I also want to say one of the things obviously with CEOs is many anymore aren't truly industry specific. They go from industry, so it's more that they are, that's they are, I hate to say professional CEOs, but they can go to different organizations and they often do. And they're not really industry specific. So it is about internally what they are as opposed to, the widget that is being made or, all of those various things. And so that's why kind of these overriding principles are so important because it can be done in any type of business.
Right. Which means you can learn from any other business leader that has those same responsibilities and the same value system.
Right.
So
let's see. Let me skip through. Actually, okay. So all of the pledge are important, and there's 8 different little quick little statements here, and they're all commits on values to all stakeholders. Okay, that's great. This one is one of my favorites. That is always something that is seems to be sometimes very difficult. Embraces sharing credit with teammates. We all want to pass the blame, but we're going to take all the credit for it. And so I love that they're saying, no, I am, because a really good CEO realizes that nothing happens if the team, your employees, your staff, if they're not successful and they're not coming up with ideas, solutions, and doing the work. So you have to share that credit, or they will go find somebody who does. That's the other thing.
Yeah, when you truly get that right and empower your team, oh my goodness, there's no stopping them. And that is such a rewarding thing to get right. I know I built a team from the ground up, and what was traditionally a cost center for enterprise organizations that could be in the tens of millions, I built into, multi-million-dollar revenue generating group. And one of the things that I did was I completely empowered my team based on their strengths.
Right.
So I understand I have certain strengths. I understood and learned, all of their strengths. And man, it was just phenomenal. Things I would never think of, things I would never have time to pursue or wasn't a particular passion for me. They just were unstoppable. And so while we saw, other groups declining, while we had the recession, we still growing at double digit numbers and 20% or more year over year. And truly, I credit the adaptability of that incredibly empowered, diverse team that knew their strengths and was able to adapt and adjust quickly. And also had built those trusting relationships and partnerships that enabled that. So when companies were in crisis and pulling spend, they weren't pulling it from us. They were investing in us because they needed help. It's a time of crisis, and so you go to the people you trust to help you with that. And so, it is absolutely phenomenal. And I can't say enough.
and where we see businesses struggle and, maybe even eventually fail are the businesses that don't empower their employees. And again, it doesn't matter what size it is. I was talking with somebody the other day, and he was telling me, the fact that, they had a new general manager who came in and wanted ideas, and so his, they said, no, we really don't want to hear from you. What you had? No. And so then, of course, what happened was he was never going to raise his hand again, and so. They just lost out on all of that knowledge, and it really didn't matter if it was a good idea or a bad idea. what happened was it squelched, and of course, when one idea gets squelched and everybody else, nope, not gonna raise my hand, not gonna go there, and so we have to share, and yeah, there are times where we have to share the blame too,
Mhm.
because that is part of it.
Yeah.
But, it is empowering the employees to be able to say, I've got this idea, or you're doing this wrong. I mean, some of the greatest things in the world are when an employee says, there's a better way we could be doing this. And a big part of that is because they're in the trenches, they're doing it. And, the CEO, may have, they might not have any idea that the process that, the way we've always done it, isn't the way we need to still be doing it. And the employees are the ones who are going to say, hey, have we ever thought about doing it this way?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think your comment about, criticizing, I had a couple members point out last week, and I just think it's so brilliant. You praise in public
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
criticize,
Mm-hmm.
on an aside.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, that's one of those things where, you share in that success, and it
Mm-hmm.
becomes everybody's success.
Right.
And that's really truly great
Mm-hmm.
leadership, and being able to be vulnerable. So
Right.
we're working on leading a hero factor business. We're working through what is your mission, what are your values, how are you aligning them, how are you empowering your
Mm-hmm.
teams, all these types of things, and to work through what hero factor business for you means with other executives that understand all the parameters of the
Right.
challenges you have to
Mm-hmm.
deal with. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just like a blank slate,
Mm-hmm. Right.
Um, to be able to do that first with others like that
Mm-hmm.
before you then go back to your team
Right.
is a really
Mm-hmm.
powerful opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to, well, what are your conditions of satisfaction? Those are really important to think
Mm-hmm.
about as
Right.
well. One of mine, you may not be surprised to know, is I want to reach to my great until the day I die,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to support others in getting to their great.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what we do, what we're all doing, and what we as leaders do
Mm-hmm.
for our teams, that is completely in line with my condition of, one of my conditions of satisfaction. And it's something that as leaders we have to think about, because
Right.
there's, what are the conditions of satisfaction of you as a leader,
Mm-hmm.
of your organization,
Mm-hmm.
and of your team,
Right.
and how do you align that?
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, it's something that I think oftentimes we don't take a step back to think about.
Mm-hmm.
When you do, then you can get much clearer about what you're trying to achieve, how you're going to achieve it, and where the fit is for each
Right.
of your
Mm-hmm.
teams, and the leaders of those teams, and the leaders within those teams.
Right. Mm-hmm. I love it.
Mhm.
But now here's another one of the pledges, and I love this part, is willing to do any job required to succeed.
Mhm.
And, and that means, okay, do they have to roll up their sleeves and get dirty in essence, I said it earlier, the ivory tower. And
Mhm.
that is, for the most part, something that I think has gone away, but, are they going to go down and, if they need to pitch in, on the sales floor, are they going to go do that, or are they too good for that job? I'm too busy to do it. Yeah. And maybe you're not required to do it. You might not ever have to go down and figure out how to run the mailroom equipment again, but you have to be able to say, you know what, if it needs done and there's nobody else to do it, I will go and do it.
Yeah.
And I've worked with some business people like that, who didn't matter what it was, they were going to roll up their sleeves and do it. Now, they might not do it right, because like I said, they might be kind of so far removed from it, but the fact that they wanted to try, I think, was what was so impressive.
Yeah, I think, it really speaks of an attitude.
Mm-hmm.
It speaks of the attitude that every single person on that team is
Mm-hmm.
critically important.
Right.
You can say one person is so important because
Mm-hmm.
they're the CEO, or because they're
Mm-hmm.
the head salesperson, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it might be. But if everybody else isn't doing their job, it's worth nothing.
Right. Right.
And so it's the mentality that whatever needs to be done is not below anybody,
Mm-hmm.
not below anybody on this
Right.
team. And so if something needs to be done and I'm the one who needs
Mm-hmm.
to do it, then you're darn right. I'm going to be in there. And
Well, and there's not different levels of people, yes, there's org charts and all of those things. I still remember, I'm a Colorado person. And so of course the Broncos, are my football team. And I remember when Peyton Manning was hired as the quarterback. Now, we all know that Peyton is a great leader, but, we learned more about him when he was in Denver. And one of the things that he did when he was, first out there, and he moved out first, his family, they needed to finish school and things like that. So they stayed in Indianapolis. And so he told the management at the Broncos, he said, you will do a notebook for me that has a bio and a picture and information on every single person who works here, from the janitors all the way up to Pat Bolin. And he said, because nobody is more important than anybody else. And he said, but more importantly, I want to be able to ask, to say, hey, Bob, how you doing today? And be, and he said, and I mean, that was obviously something that struck me as a great leader, because, he really didn't see that, that you would be treating somebody different. Now, obviously you have different levels. I mean, you still have to have leaders, and you still have to have people who are doing the tasks. But to him, they were all just as important. And, and I remember one of the things he said was, you never know when that janitor might say, have you thought about doing this play that way? And it might be that the janitor has the great idea.
Right. Or yeah, absolutely. I love that proverbial story that, you have a janitor. One says, I'm a janitor. The other one says, I'm helping to get the next person on the moon.
Right.
And being on mission. And there's nothing more powerful than everyone on the mission. I'm so grateful for that story. I didn't know that about Peyton Manning. And that's certainly the way that, that's certainly our ethos. It's critically important. And the fact of the matter is, with the Hero Club and with C-Suite Network and the whole enormous platform we have, it's about how do we create more leadership, empower greater success, greater impact, and really focus our resourcing so that all these different leaders and experts can do the thing that they love and are impassioned to do without all the pain points of what the platform can do for them. And so, it's kind of a perfect way to bring our conversation back out, I think, which is that whole notion of you bring people together that are aligned and wanting to create tremendous value in giving to a community that genuinely cares about what it's doing and the impact it has, and everybody is more successful because of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And we certainly see the examples of the companies that don't have that philosophy. They by factors of 100, change the price on medicine, other things. And of course, with social media, man, you just get lambasted so quickly. And it doesn't even matter if that was, really the cost of what it was. You just have to really be thinking about the people, and again, we know we have to make money or we don't have the company, but there are just so many ways to be going about it that really is making you a servant to your community, to your company, to your employees.
Yes. And, at the end of the day, we have a legacy to leave, right? So
right.
What will that legacy be? And if it's not for something other than just the numbers, then what's the point?
Do you just want to be known as the guy who thought pet rocks were a good idea? Or do you want to be, somebody like a Bill Gates who, has started this foundation and all these various things. And again, it's, scale, little things are just as important as the giant things, because it all ties together.
Yes, absolutely. And I want to say too, you mentioned about some people not being offered membership in the Hero Club. And certainly we have had that scenario. But I will say that every time we do that, we try very much to help them connect to experts and leaders and advisors that will help them get there.
Right. So, it's not just, nope, sorry.
Right. Because again, ideally everybody would be part of this movement. Everybody would say, okay, enough is enough. And it does matter to lead great businesses that get to that hero factor status and can have a great positive impact, that we respect each other, that we have open and honest conversations, that we do good for our communities and our economy and our democracy. It matters. We need to the legacy we want to be able to leave for our next generations.
Right. Oh my gosh, Tricia, we could go on forever. I mean, we didn't even get through, half of the pledge to talk about those things, all these various things. We didn't talk about the events. There are events that people can attend. There's obviously events that are member only, and so tell people about how they find out more about the Hero Club.
So you can go to heroceoclub.com, the website. Our application for membership, application to attend different events is there. And my team will start doing their magic and make sure I get that information so that we can follow up. We're all over social, so Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. So please connect in with us and share your story. Join with us. There's so many ways to get involved in the Hero Club, the C-Suite Network, and all of our, radio hosts like Deb, who are doing amazing things out in the world, and TV, and our council leaders. We have all kinds of different subgroupings of, issues related and role related, like, CEOs and CMOs and you name it.
Right.
We are building these different communities with leaders who really have a passion for leading in those areas. So I'd be really happy to hear from anybody that wants to join in and start getting involved. Is it okay? I could give my email address too,
Sure,
Deb.
sure, if you'd like to.
It's Tricia, Tricia, Benn, Benn, at C-suite, S-U-I-T-E, network.com.
Right.
So yeah, would love to hear from anybody that wants to get involved.
Right. Well, Tricia, what final thoughts would you like to leave our listeners and our viewers with?
I guess at the end of the day, Deb, we've talked about so many amazing things, but I just want to thank you. You're a phenomenal member and contributor to C-Suite Network. You are absolutely oh my goodness. You are delightful to have a conversation with, and I'm so grateful for all that you do in our community and for inviting me to join you today. Thank you.
It really has been a great discussion, and we have to continue it because there's so much more about this that we can talk about. And so I would love to be able to just touch base with you and be, talk about more things that we can be doing, on our own as part of these communities, all these various things.
I would love to do that, Deb. Yeah, we could talk about diversity. We could talk about how to balance your life and
I didn't even get to, Jeffrey wrote this great article for Entrepreneur that talks about how we need more women. Hello, more women in the C-suite level. We didn't even talk about that. I
did an interview earlier today with a group called Pink Corner Office. It was all just about women executives. There's so many aspects of what we're doing, and as you said, like, these are things that are not just impacting only CEOs and founders. This is like how we live our lives in a meaningful way and fit things in that we want to prioritize and create a legacy we want to leave behind.
Right. Well, I am Deb Creer. I've been having an absolutely wonderful time talking with Tricia Benn. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer. Join us next time for more real-life stories and techniques to power up your business.
You've been listening to C-Suite Radio. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.